You know it's gonna be good when the YouTuber busts out the furry avatar stills. You just can't be a YouTuber without serious allegations, huh? They're like a greasy badge of honor. Not like I never expected this to happen, given that I've had to deal with kids, online using everything under the sun against me, but this situation is a little different. This time, it's a few ex-friends saying this, that, and the other about me over a completely avoidable situation. You love to see it. Note, the use of comedy and jokes in this video isn't to undermine the serious allegations, but to poke fun at the fact that they thought they could get away with it. Here's the mandatory disclaimer to please not bother Randy about this, or quite frankly anyone mentioned here. Her and her friend group, some being my own old friends, may have done a horrendous amount of things to me that were never apologized for, but that doesn't mean they should get meaningless harassment back. And I also don't want to deal with this any longer. It's been far too long. You're probably wondering who Randy is, huh? Well, she's the creator of the video we'll be going over today, since she claims I've done this, and that, and I'm here to, defend myself and provide contexts while pointing out the hypocrisy throughout this entire situation. Before we get into it, I have to mention that a lot of things brought up here have already been resolved, but are being talked about as still being issues because, of course, why would you bring up the fixing of these things in context that would ruin your claims? And there are also things in here that are just straight up hearsay, completely untrue, or things that aren't issues being made into issues. With all of that out of the way, let's see what Randy has to say.
I've stayed quiet about this guy for far too long.
Not even 5 seconds in, and there's already something I have to pause and interject on. Great. Now I'm really concerned with how the rest of these videos will go. Yes, videos, plural. To start off, no, you haven't been keeping quiet about me in the slightest. The past month or so, your Instagram stories have been littered with posts about me regularly, constantly saying all kinds of horrible things about me. You've been pretty loud. Another thing I'd like to mention before we go further is that I'm cutting out a lot of unimportant banter and am just sticking to the important things, because if I kept everything in, this video would be twice the length that it is.
Original YouTube channel taken down because he posted an uncensored video of another one of our friends' OCs bouncing on that thing, completely uncensored, and it was age restricted. I will say that it was age restricted, but also that doesn't mean that kids can't see it, and also that just doesn't belong on YouTube.
Back when this happened, I was under the impression that an age restriction meant it was only viewable by people over 18. It was a joke animation I made for one of my old friends, and I didn't consider that the YouTube bots would look at it as literal pornography and treat it as such. It was a crude joke, but it wasn't meant to be explicit or something to get your rocks off to. I've since learned exactly how far I can go and don't intend to repeat this.
For the sake of her privacy, I'm gonna call my girlfriend at the time Applejack. I couldn't think of any other name for her, but she joined his server because me and her were talking, and she just wanted to support my friends and get my friends to her more. And she would flirt with me, and we'd hit on each other in his server, as a joke. We weren't genuinely doing it, but he would get genuinely angry at us for doing it and be like, stop flirting, and then he would go and do the exact same thing, but even freakier with another person in the server.
I snooped through my server a while back to find instances of me being genuinely upset about them flirting, but all I found was either no reaction or something neutral or supportive. If I did say something against it that I just can't find, then I didn't mean it seriously. And even the instances of me flirting, it was either a joke or asking the other person to stop. I don't flirt in public or in private a lot, especially not explicitly.
Applejack and I would play games with other people in his server, and he would never include himself with us, but he would get mad that we weren't including him. He would ban her for no reason, and then just kick us all from the call repeatedly and say she was unnecessarily rude when she was literally nothing but nice to him. She was so respectful to him the entire time she was in the server.
The first time I banned Applejack, which yes, you're gonna hear my little pony names in this because that's how serious this ordeal is, was because she was insulting me and egging me on, which made me mad because it was really early in the morning for me, which contributed to my mood, unfortunately. And we did talk about this and clear it all up way back when it happened. So I don't really know why Randy says it was for no reason when she very well knew the reason. Any time after that was because I had a really poor opinion of her due to her joking towards me and me not picking it up as a joke, thinking she was just rude. which I talked to Applejack about, and she apologized and explained herself to me. Randy mentioned that I wouldn't include myself in calls, but would get mad when I wasn't being included and would just kick people. This is not true. In fact, this is something that's been alleged that Randy did in her own server a lot.
She and I had made a separate group chat with a couple other of our friends and then some people from the server so that we could play games together, because Harvey had also banned another one of my friends from his server. So we would play games in that, and one time Applejack sent like a My Little Pony image, and it was just like a drawing that we thought was like cool, and she asked if we all wanted to match, just like anybody who answered first, and we all did. And when he saw that we were matching, he got real upset. I'm probably gonna put like a screenshot here or something, but he was like, I can tell when there's no involvement in my own friend group or something like that. But like, we are involving you, you just choose not to play with us. Like, we never told him he couldn't play with us. We were literally playing in his server, which meant he could join us at any time he wanted, but he never did.
Randy talks about this as if they were always playing in my server, or that I was in theirs to freely join whenever, when this is not the case. I wasn't invited to their server, and didn't see when they sent an invite into my server, and they made no effort to include me in it. I don't even know why this screenshot is being brought up to prove a point against me, as if it doesn't confirm that they were in fact doing things without me. I said that I recognized my uninvolvement with my own friend group a long time ago, because that's just how I felt. I felt like all of my friends were having fun and doing fun stuff without me. This is not a point against me like Randy seems to think. This is what kickstarted this entire situation, by the way. We'll get more into that soon. Trust me.
I had checked my Discord after a bit to see that he was deleting every single channel in his server. Smiley, another one of the friends in the group chat and also an admin in his server at the time, was freaking out because this was literally happening out of nowhere. He had removed everyone as a friend on Discord and Roblox except for me, and that meant that nobody could contact him, and also him deleting every single channel in his server except for like 3 that nobody else but him could talk in. So that meant nobody else was able to reach him except for me. So it was left up to me to message him and ask him what was wrong, why he was deleting everything. He told me some personal stuff that I'm not gonna share just because like it doesn't provide any relevance to anything, but he also mentioned that he was stressed about the new animations he was working on at the time, and that he has to get them done by the deadline, and he's just stressed that he's not going to be able to. I told him he needed to take a break if it's stressing him out that bad, and he shouldn't put his work before himself. He told me that he wasn't going to take a break and that he needed to get these videos done in time regardless, even though the deadline wasn't for like another 4 months. Like, this was in September, and he said the deadline was in January.
A while ago, I recognized just how much I overestimated how long my videos would take to make. And I was putting myself under a lot of pressure because I thought I'd take a long time to make them, when I really didn't. Funny that she mentions that I told her some personal stuff that she didn't want to bring up because it wasn't relevant, when what I told her brings a lot of context to my behavior and is pretty relevant because of that. Yeah. Real convenient to just leave that out, Randy. Good one.
Him removing everyone as a friend and deleting all the channels and basically like making me the only person able to reach him is just really odd, because it puts all the pressure on me to make him feel better, and like it's like basically him trying to get me to cheer him up, and he wants my attention because I'm giving it to other people and not him.
That certainly is an assumption to make. I wasn't trying to get her specifically to talk to me. I even stated I didn't want to talk to anyone when I responded to her. She willingly put herself into this position, and now she's complaining about it months later as a point against me. I also did not remove a majority of people from my friends list. They were mostly never added or removed a long time ago. This is probably assumed because no one could message me since I turned off my DMs because, again, I didn't want to talk to anyone. I wasn't upset that she was paying attention to others. The most I ever did that insinuated that was joking about others taking up her time, but it was clearly a joke, and I wasn't demanding she spend time with me. I can be very overbearing, which is just how I am with my close friends, and if it upset her or made her uncomfortable, she should have told me.
Smiley confronted Harvey in the Suarez channel and called him out for like how bad his behavior was.
This screenshot is of this message exchange, which occurred right after they both confronted me about what I just talked about, which put me in a certain place where I already felt backed into a corner over something that occurred a while ago, all during a time where I already felt like my friends didn't like me.
He messaged in his Sewer Rats channel, "This is it then," and Smiley came back and questioned what he meant by that. He said, "You know what it means." He refused to tell us exactly what he was doing.
Extremely normal, good person behavior to bring up my mental break and near attempt as a point against me. Anyway, I actually was as vocal as I could be in this situation. I was sending a lot of single-word, vague messages because I just couldn't type out more.
The next morning, I was on my way to school, and I had gotten a message from Harvey at around 8 a.m. And you already know what it was. It was a little note from him. I still had my mom with me. She was still with me when I got this message. We went to the police, and we managed to call a welfare check on him. He had sent me that and hadn't replied to anything that I had said after that. He had replied to me on Discord, finally, but all he sent me was a sunflower emoji. No words, nothing, just a sunflower emoji.
The reason I send and use this emote a lot is because I like the meaning of this flower. It symbolizes a lot of things, and it's my favorite one. It's really that simple. I don't know why this is a problem. It was just a sign to say I'm still there.
He was ignoring me for hours and hours.
I was sleeping because I was really exhausted, so I couldn't answer her. This is why I ended up not doing it.
So he continued to talk to me normally and pretend like nothing had happened.
We talked thoroughly about my feelings for a bit after this.
Until the police finally showed up to his house, and for some reason they mentioned me when they came there. But I just remember he was gone, like he just wasn't replying to me for a couple of minutes, and then he came back and he said the police were just here. He was super mad at me. He said I betrayed his trust and that was the last time he would ever tell me about his feelings. And he asked how many people I had told, and I just said my mom. And he was acting like I'd literally just lined up everyone he loves and shot them in the back of the head. Like, okay.
I had this knee-jerk reaction because they mentioned putting me in a psych ward. I have been to one before, and I didn't exactly have a pleasant experience in it, so I was scared and unfairly took it out on her.
He would also start being like way more affectionate towards me, like telling me he loved me and like constantly thanking me for being his friend. And it did make me feel bad for ever thinking about leaving him, but like that's exactly what he was trying to do.
I was being affectionate and thankful towards her because she was being so incredibly supportive during this time, and I wanted to show her how much I appreciate her care.
I finally mustered up the courage to tell him I was leaving and just block him on everything. I was violently shaking the entire time. I was literally terrified to leave this guy.
Randy was scared of blocking a literal 10-year-old. She makes it sound like it was this super scary thing because she's convinced I'm evil, but I was just struggling, and she didn't know her own boundaries when trying to help me.
When I opened the little notification bar to look at the comments, I saw that they were all from the same account. I'll put a screenshot up of the account and the comments and what he was saying, but he was just commenting random stuff, and there was a recurring thing with the sunflower emoji, which is why I'm going to keep mentioning it, because he just continuously used it with me.
This random alt account I made was an attempt to try and reach her, because I was very confused and worried from the message she sent me. This was the first of a few attempts I made before giving up pretty quickly after. I already talked about the sunflower, so I won't repeat myself.
About 9 emails, it was either 8 or 9, I don't remember the exact number, from 5 different email addresses. I have no idea how he got my email because I don't remember ever giving it to him.
She sent me money on PayPal to pay for the landing cost of the gift box she sent me, which I ended up using for food instead because I couldn't access it for the delivery company for some reason.
Like the next couple of months, aside from Applejack, he would continuously message her and harass her on Twitter or like any other app he was able to contact her on. And he called her a PDF file for dating someone 1 year younger than her.
Nowhere in this message did I call her that. I also only messaged her twice, once to respond to her cruel messages, and once to make fun of her pointing out some dumb age gap by doing the same. I talked to Applejack about this when we finally had a conversation, and we both apologized to each other for our treatment of one another. This is not an issue anymore.
He would also constantly beg post about us on his Instagram, Twitter, and Discord. One of his Instagram posts, I'll put another screenshot up, and it was him going, "Me after my best friend is poisoned against me by her girlfriend." No,
I also already cleared this up with Applejack. Moving on.
I actually made the choice of befriending Applejack behind everyone's backs, and at this point, every single person that had been friends with him from his server had dropped him.
I didn't befriend Applejack solely as a jab against Randy. I befriended her because she was essentially the only person who was mature enough to come to me to apologize and was very kind to me, which got me to like her, thus befriending her naturally. A handful of people actually stayed because they have critical thinking skills. The people that left were already in your server and at that point had a hate boner for me.
There's a Google Doc that's being made at the time of recording this that just talks about all of his actions with all the screenshots we have. I'm gonna go over the key ones, but feel free to look at everything that's in the doc. I'll link it somewhere on my account or maybe on my Instagram.
Why what? Why would you not include all of your evidence for all of your claims in the videos that you're making them in? Separating them is really reductive. This isn't how this should be set up. A video or video series like this should always include all evidence. I've actually never seen anyone do it like this before. I honestly thought she'd bring everything up as she speaks because that's what makes sense, but I guess you can't expect much from someone who makes 6 5-minute long videos instead of 2 or 3 10-minute long ones on an app where it's entirely possible.
He has been caught on multiple occasions drawing art that kind of like fantasizes and like glorifies and like assault.
Okay, now it's getting pretty personal. I drew art that sexualizes and glorifies, which is just her interpretation of this essay because it was vent art about an abusive relationship I was in. I told Randy about this months ago, and she was very understanding of why I drew this kind of art. I obviously didn't show her, but 2 of my other old friends showed their entire server and tried to defend it. Anyway, I haven't drawn this kind of art in nearly a year because I have processed most of my trauma through these drawings.
There is Twitter screenshots of him excusing diaper play, saying adults also wear diapers, so it's okay that people do it because it's not inherently just an infant thing.
Do I seriously have to delve into exactly why this is not a problem and why I made this argument? Fine. Diaper fetishism is a type of fetish in which a person derives pleasure from themselves or partners wearing or using a diaper. Diaper fetishism can be performed on its own or incorporated into other various kinks, such as paraphilic infantilism, omarashi, also called wedding, and BDSM. When combined with paraphilic infantilism, the fetish is often referred to as adult baby diaper lover or ABDL for short. Paraphilic infantilism, also known as adult baby, is a form of age play that involves role-playing a regression to an infant-like state. Like other forms of adult play, depending on the context and desires of the people involved, paraphilic infantilism may be expressed as a non-sexual fetish, kink, or simply as a comforting, platonic activity. People who practice adult baby play are often referred to as adult babies. Behaviors vary, but may include things such as wearing childish clothes and wearing and using diapers, which is what this is specifically referring to. Age play is a form of role-playing in which an individual acts or treats another as if they are a different age. Age play is role-playing between adults and involves the consent of all parties. Age play is not necessarily sexual, but can be. Age play is not associated with pedophilia, nor is it related by professional psychologists to any form of sex abuse. Individuals who engage in age play are consenting adults who enjoy imagining or portraying themselves as children or merely enjoy childlike elements typical of children present in adults. The reason why it isn't associated with or bordering on pedophilia is because it inherently involves people who are of sexual maturity. Furthermore, diapers for adults are in fact just a thing, be it for medical reasons, old age, or something other than what we've discussed. This type of thing may be weird to some, but that really doesn't matter. I'm not into it personally, but I do make arguments for certain fetishes when they come up, because I believe we should be educated on sexuality. I also just don't kink shame people. Instead, I learn about them. Are we done? Can we move on? Great.
Bestiality. He gets accused of this like every so often, and I didn't believe it until I saw this, but he draws like dog wee-wees. And he also animated a video of Pinkie Pie shucking his pony shown as wee wee and posted it somewhere under his other username, his under surname.
Good Lord. I'm accused of bestiality because most people don't have a proper understanding of what constitutes as bestiality. So I guess I'll have to teach you about this one as well, much as I really don't want to. Bestiality is a form of sexual animal abuse characterized by interspecies crossbreeding. This is unnatural and punishable by law, as it greatly harms and oftentimes kills the animal. Zoophilia is similar, covering only the sexual attraction to non-anthropomorphic animals. Drawing animalistic genitalia on anthropomorphic characters does not fall under this, since I do not draw them accurately to my knowledge. I don't reference real life when I draw them on my characters, because I don't want to. I reference other people's art for it. Randy mentions that I animated something sexual between two My Little Pony characters. I will explain why this is not bestiality or zoophilia as well. To start off, Randy actually agreed in the past that an attraction to these characters is not a bad thing, because they are human-like. This cannot be bestiality, as they don't have a typically animal-like mind, meaning they can consent, hypothetically. A lot of people conflate anthropomorphism with bipedal, which are two different things. There are bipedal non-anthro animals in real life, and there are anthro-quadrupedal animals in fiction, such as My Little Pony. They're technically just furries. The animation in question also cannot be bestiality because it is between two characters of the same species, and no, getting off to it also is not bestiality, because they're anthro. None of this is bestiality because every character involved is anthropomorphic or anthro and bipedal.
There was this person that joined, and I believe they were 14, and they were like posting lolicon stuff in the adults channel, and other adults in that channel were telling Harvey that they were uncomfortable with it, and he wouldn't listen to them and wouldn't remove them from the server, even after seeing all of this happen and like finding out that they were 14.
I did in fact ban this 14-year-old when I found out they were 14 and faking their ID, and it's on me for not analyzing the image more thoroughly. I was dismissive of them uploading that because I genuinely do not care about lowly or whatever con. I didn't pay a lot of mind to the other adults' concern regarding this. I don't engage with this sort of thing at all, and I haven't let this happen since. I also don't have an NSFW channel anymore because of this.
He also drew NSFW of Weird Al, and somebody else also called him out for this on Twitter. They were like, what is wrong with you? Because it was like Weird Al like sucking a hot dog. It was questionable.
I drew this because I thought it was funny. He is a 65-year-old man. He will live if a sex joke is made about him, which happens very often, and he laughs about them. Regardless, I deleted this a long time ago. That's all I can do.
There was an incident in 2021 where someone called Canaphilic on Twitter would continuously harass Harvey. He doesn't remember much about it, but he does remember that Harvey never put it in his little drama archive and had soon changed his username to Canaphilic, giving him reason to believe that it was just Harvey on an alt account harassing himself.
The person who was harassing me was called Katsune, not Canaphilic. Canaphilic was one of my old usernames. They're either recalling this wrong by accident or on purpose. I didn't include this in the archive because it's all in a Google document, so I didn't feel like it was necessary.
Harvey would encourage people to harm themselves for no reason at all. On one instance, he would get upset when people would post about being clean from SH on Twitter and would screenshot the post and send them in the server telling them to hurt themselves and stuff like that, just saying really terrible stuff.
Oh yes, because hearsay from someone who already doesn't like me, conveniently remembering something bad I supposedly did without proof, is evidence that I'm a bad person. This screenshot is of a message sent by Altoid or Jack, one of the two people who sent my essay vent art to Applejack, weaponizing it.
There's gonna be more in the doc. Obviously, there's gonna be a lot more screenshots and just everything that we have compiled just in that doc, so look at that if you want more evidence.
Just as I'm making this video, this document came out. I won't go over it just yet, but we'll get to it. I won't go over what I've already talked about so far, as that would just stretch this video's length, and I also don't want to repeat myself.
He would constantly try to contact me and Applejack in any way that he could. Over the months, there were Twitter messages, friend requests on Steam, Instagram messages, and Discord messages.
Again, I've only ever sent 2 Twitter DMs in response to Applejack, and all of this other stuff that's mentioned. That happened when Applejack and I were already friends.
At the beginning of October, Applejack wasn't in a good headspace and Harvey had just happened to contact her at the worst possible time. She told me that she was okay being on neutral terms with him, but he continuously tried to befriend her and just convinced her that he would be a good friend.
Said as if I just knew she was in a bad place. Applejack reached out first, after I asked for an apology through a mutual friend. Nothing gave me the impression that she was doing bad, and the reason why I befriended her has already been discussed. I also wasn't trying to befriend her. It just kind of happened. I wanted to be friendly because she was very nice to me. I may have come off very strong, and I know I'm very overbearing sometimes, but I had no ill intentions.
They stayed friends until around the end of October when Applejack blocked him again.
Excuse me. I blocked her during this time and then unblocked her to apologize for something stupid that happened.
None of us knew that she had been friends with him this entire time, and a few days after Applejack and I had broken up, I got an email from Harvey basically giving away the fact that he and Applejack had been friends the entire time.
This is being presented like my friendship with her was super top secret. The reason I sent this email asking Randy to stop attacking and lying about Applejack is because Applejack herself told me this was happening, and I wanted to defend her, something I quickly recognized was a bad idea and apologized for.
A few days later, I was sent some screenshots of Applejack and Harvey being all giddy together in his server while me and her were still together. I lost my marbles at this, obviously, and was very upset because it looked like she was cheating on me.
If this is considered cheating, then I'm really curious about what something Randy was allegedly doing would be considered. But we'll get to that after I clarify that these were not flirtatious messages. Most of the affection was coming from Applejack, and I was just receptive because these were cute gestures. The me and whom wasn't a me and her. I said whom specifically because it wasn't about her, but she took it that way and responded. I complimented her sometimes, like calling her pretty, but this and everything else was platonic. She wasn't cheating on Randy with me, nor did I have any romantic interest in Applejack. The first one was sent because I was happy that she was back after I re-invited her. Now we'll get into something that could be considered cheating, even though I won't make that sort of conclusion because this is not my relationship. Applejack told me that Randy was continuously hanging out with another girl who was really physically affectionate and flirty towards her, and even after being asked to, never told Applejack this was happening. She always found out through Instagram.
I'm not letting him get away with this. Like, I'm sick of him terrorizing me and my friends. He just can't get over it.
Terrorizing you, huh? Let's see what you've all been up to. Now let's see what I've been doing.
He has been sending his minions after us, like me and my friends. There's just this person that he's sent to just watch all of our stories, and they name themselves MayhemTown's goon after I called them a gooner.
I've been keeping them all anonymous up until now, and the only person who was looking at their posts is someone who I already asked to stop showing me. Here's all of Randy's friends doing what she thinks I sent someone to do.
And like is like, oh, they're threatening me. He's just twisting our words basically.
No, I actually have been vaguely threatened, and there was an entire server event where they wanted to beat me up.
He keeps on saying that, oh, he apologized to me, but he never did. He's apologized to other people, but he never apologized to me. He's never said anything to me, and the things that he is saying he apologized for was for things that he did months ago.
So, do you want me to contact you, or do you not want me to contact you? I've known for months that you didn't really want to hear from me, so I don't want to pester you with an apology. I've been apologizing for everything I could recently and months back. If there's things I didn't apologize for, and it is wanted, I would follow through on it privately. That was all of the videos, and now we can get to the doc that supposedly has more evidence of my wrongdoings. You know, instead of including everything in the videos like a normal person who makes chronically online callouts. Let's get to it. It starts already being misinformed. It's true that I know someone by that name and have been acquaintances with them for a few years, but we didn't really become friends until recently. They mention us sharing an account, and this will be important later. A lot of the screenshots in this are from anonymous sources claiming to have known me, so I will completely ignore these because they don't prove a thing. Hearsay is not evidence. The only place I ever sent NSFW content into was the adult channel I had at the time in my server. This is also where those kinds of messages were sent. Calling my vent piece, Puppy Paradise, that I was working on when I was 15 to 17, gore fetish material is incredibly disgusting. These are all interpretations and meanings being applied to something I made to project my trauma onto. completely ignoring artistic intent and why I actually made those drawings and characters. Baby Doll and Bubs were both characters I made that held a lot of my trauma in them and what they were going through. You may not like how it looks, but you're lucky you get to see this instead of being me when what made this exist happened to me. Fritz is a representation of me taking back the control that was torn from me and portraying myself as both the victim and the perpetrator, because I projected feelings of it's my fault and I let it happen, I did it to myself, into my art and these characters. He personified everything that I was scared of, and I chose to represent myself with this so I could get over my fears. These are complex characters in a complex story, and portraying it in a black and white way is reductive. It's always like this when vent art isn't done the way other people think it should be. Everything you say is dismissed for a more favorable black and white view to make the individual depicting it morally reprehensible. This is also misinformed. He and I shared a name because he was my persona, but I changed his name from Victor to Fritz, not Fritz to Victor. I renamed him to Fritz when I was starting to disassociate from the character, but wasn't quite ready to fully move on. This is 2 years old when I was still in a terrible place. I've made self-improvements and no longer do this. This screenshot was taken a very long time ago, despite the dates. Looking up this account leads to replies to my main account because I just changed the handle way back when I changed my name. It's not an alt. My first tweet is a sentence from a Rob Zombie movie said by a character judging another character for suggesting he do that.
Now, y'all ain't planning on fucking these chickens, are you?
What the fuck are you getting at? Do you fuck chickens? Are you saying that I would cut off a chicken's head, put my dick in it, fuck it, and go, ah?
The second one is referring to that OC as a rapist because he was also one of my Puppy Paradise OCs. This is getting a few things wrong. I was 16 when I had this boyfriend who told me he was 15. I eventually found out he was 14, and after some contemplation I left. Rule 34 art is not very easy to delete, so I never bothered trying. The vent animation that followed the breakup included some messages. In our relationship, which started right after I got out of another one when I was vulnerable, this boyfriend would always say he wanted me to do this, and he made it seem like it was normal. I recognized it wasn't. I never was into the idea too much, but I wanted to make him happy, so I played into his fantasies. Everything else I said about doing this was completely emotion-driven. This reads like I tried to hide that I'm canophilic when I was very forward about changing my name and moving on from the general grim themes because they didn't represent me well anymore. This was not serious. This is not me. I never ran the same account with Jace. I don't know where this is even coming from. I asked Jace about the work-in-progress pictures they sent, and they told me they were just showing it to other people. This doesn't even include my or Jace's names. This is just something that was said being pinned on me. I never made a Discord server with anyone. The rest of this text just says things without proof, so I won't even bother with it. You moron. Also, no proof this was me. Same time as this. Blaming me for believing Applejack and offering advice on what I think would be best after she told me she was in a toxic relationship with Randy. You can't tell me your partner is horrible and then blame me and get mad when I tell you to leave them. I skipped over a lot in this document because I already covered it in the main part of this video, but if you're curious as to what exactly it was, you can find it. That was quite a lot, wasn't it? Prior to this, I have been hearing here and there that Randy was making a video about me and roughly the length of it and what would be brought up. So this wasn't too out of the blue, but still pretty exhausting to look through and discuss. Please don't take anything Randy said as a means to go over there and tell her off or something, because my video is already doing enough for me, and sending her hate regarding this won't make it better. We've all made mistakes in this situation and handled certain parts of it really poorly because there is no school here. We're working out of our own intuition, which was being muddied by our failing mental health, so please don't hold what she did against her, because I certainly won't. I'm taking many steps to avoid something like this happening again, because believe it or not, I don't want things like this to happen. I doubt Randy's even going to listen to anything in this video, because she very clearly has made up her mind about me, and I'm not trying to change it. This was more so just to argue claims made against me so that others may come to an informed opinion.